Greetings, everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. John E. Jackson, Sr., and I'm the senior pastor of the Trinity United Church of Christ in Gary, Indiana, where we are not just another church, but we are a culturally conscious, Christ-centered church committed to the community. And here I am. What you're listening to right now is a song by Branford Marsalis, one of the famed Marsalis family. As we are in mourning and we are lamenting, the song that is playing is called Lament. His father, many of you know Wynton Marsalis, probably the most famous member of the family. The father, Ellis Marsalis, made his transition, and now he lives upstairs in the father's house. And I thought it was a fitting intro as I talk to, in a conversation right now with one of the premier saxophonists in this country and in this world, my friend and brother and musician at our congregation, Michael Carson Sr. How you doing, Mike?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, Pastor. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Could you just tell folk again who you are and some of the things, you know, you have done, where you have played, experience, you know, some of the folks you have played with and things like that. A little bit of intro about yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just a saxophonist here, a musician, working in Gary, out of Maryville, Chicagoland area. I started, well, the first instrument I ever got, my dad bought me a ukulele. I remember that when I was a kid.
A ukulele?
A ukulele. I think he bought me a ukulele. But I've always been interested in music as far as I can remember. I kind of feel that music chose me. I didn't really choose it. It was just something that I was always fascinated about. Mm-hmm. So I really started my formal music training in the Philadelphia school system at third grade. I think in the fourth grade, I learned. I started learning the clarinet, and then from the clarinet, I moved to the saxophone at sixth grade. I went to a wonderful school called Conwell Middle Magnet School, and it was kind of like an arts kind of school in Philadelphia. And a lot of my friends, or musicians or involved in some type of art. And from there, at sixth grade, I switched to saxophone. I had a teacher named Mr. Wolfgang. He switched me to saxophone from clarinet, and I cried. But he said, "Hey, one day you'll thank me for this." and I do thank him to this day. I'm a aspiring musician in the stream. It's so many great musicians out there. I've played. The first actual gig that I did outside of I went to Southern University for a while, a year. And I studied with a man named Alvin Baptiste, who was real close to the Marsalis family. He was very close to them, and they called him Mr. Bat. Mr. Bat was a wonderful teacher, and I played in the band with Mr. Bat. One notable person in that band, other than Mr. Bat, I guess, they were all good musicians in that band. But Randy Jackson, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a bass player.
Yes.
He was on Idol, American Idol.
Right,
American Idol, yeah. he was our bassist in that band there. He's a real nice guy. His brother Herman Jackson played drums in that band, and it was a good band, Mr. Bat's band. So what happened? I got a scholarship to go to Southern University, and I was in a marching band, and I had like 3 days before I graduated from high school, I got into I was in a massive car accident with my dad. We were in a Volkswagen, the old Volkswagen, you know, with the motor in the back. And we were driving down City Line Avenue in Philadelphia. My father was coming with my other relatives to, you know, for my graduation from high school. And we were driving down City Line Avenue. We were in the middle lane going north, and a drunk driver going in the south lane crossed over the divider, missed the far lane in the left, and came down the middle lane and crashed in on.
Oh my God!
And my dad and myself almost lost our life. And I fractured my hip from that. Long story short, that was right before I graduated. I got a scholarship to go to Southern University, and I was in a marching band, but I really wasn't in really the great shape to march. But I got in the band, and they took you through a hazing process to be in the band. And so I went to band camp, and I got through the band camp. And when I got out of the camp, they took you to this thing. They kept threatening to throw you in a lake. But what they did, they dug these graves. And it rained, you know, rains in the bayou down there. It rained and it was full of mud, and they came and they grabbed all the crabs, you know, out of the cafeteria, and they baptized us in the mud. And then they pulled you up out of the mud. It was a mud grave, literally like the size of a grave. They dug a grave and put you in there.
Oh my goodness.
And they brought you out. They said, all right, you over now. And I said to myself, I was in a marching band. I said, man, and it was the man, just think, somebody said to me, just think next year you'll be able to do this to somebody else. And I said, hey, I don't want to do this. Right. I went from the marching band over to Mr. Baptiste and the jazz band. I was listening to those guys play. And I said, hey man, can I come over here? He said, yeah. Because I said, can I use my scholarship over here? He said, sure. And I went over to Dr. Greggs, Patty Greggs. I said, Doc, I'm out of here, man. This ain't me. And I went over. And that was my beginning of playing at Southern University Jazz Band. But I started playing out music when I was 15. Some guys came to my house, and I forgot where they heard me play or something. And they asked my mother, older guys out of high school, they asked my mother if I could play in this band with them. And my mother said, hey, well, sure. If he keeps his grades up and, he's not out there drinking or drugging, yeah. And at 15, I started playing clubs, and again in the club, the guys would take a pencil that women use for their eyeliner. They would paint a mustache on me, on my little peach fuzz, and I would be in the club.
My goodness.
And get in the club, and then when I was 16, I had my driver's license, so they would drink as much as they wanted all night, and they'd make me drive the truck home with their equipment. So that's where I got my start playing in bands, and I'm playing in bands to this day. I'm just different bands, and notable things. So when I got out of college, the first gig that I really had was I got a gig playing for the Dells. And the Dells, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you who got me that gig. Kevin Eubanks. I don't know if you remember a guy named Kevin, guitarist Kevin Eubanks. We were good friends. Kevin Eubanks got me that job. We played at the Arlo Ballroom in Philadelphia. Kevin got me that gig. Robin Eubanks was on that gig. I think Mike Gray, a trombonist. His dad is Al Gray, a trombonist. Used to be in a Basie band. He got me that job. But I've had some good friends that were really, I guess you could say, made it out to the big dance. Bill Pierce, I'd studied with him. He was one teacher that I really enjoyed. I studied with a guy here. I can't. My mind is
Let me ask you this. With your experiences and your love for the craft, for the gift, what is it about music to you that makes it so inspiring and so uplifting on motivating for good or bad? What is it that is about it that does that, you think?
Well, I think that whatever you think of the music, because it all comes from God, as far as I'm concerned. Whatever you think of it, in the process of music and playing an instrument, I think it's with any art too. Mm-hmm. What we're doing is imitating God. We're imitating God, because when we breathe into an instrument like a saxophone, I'm breathing life into that instrument, into that note, and those notes are like my creation. So in my mind, God is the master musician, and we're all just his notes, because everything is vibrating in the universe at one speed or another, and that's what notes are. When something vibrates, it emits a frequency, and the frequency emits a sound. So we're all vibrations. So in my mind, we're just notes, and when we play, we're just imitating God. So
good. You said a mouthful right there, because these vibrations, and they touch people, and they vibrate into people, and we become notes for God to play on. That's powerful, man. Then how are you getting through this time of pandemic and crisis through music? Because I mentioned to Bobby Wooten a couple of days ago about DJ D Nice, and he was with Boogie Down Production. Well, he had this whole quarantine party online where he just playing different songs. He DJ, and I don't know, 11,000 people, I know maybe more than that, would just tune in all weekend to just music.
Wow.
And so how do you see you getting through this pandemic time?
Well,
music is helping that.
Oh, it's helping me insofar as it's allowed me some time to sit down and to reflect and to actually practice instruments. I've got some music software that I needed to check out. I talked to Bobby about it, that I never really took the time to actually go ahead and open it up and unpack it. I've got instruments and things that I'm unpacking and doing, but also for me, just creating a playlist. I know for myself, what we did, when we went on this past October, we went on a long road trip. But what we did, we made us a playlist, because we knew we were going to be on the road for a few days. So we made a playlist that lasted a few days. So what I've created, from that, every year, before I would do it, I create a playlist for the year of songs that I hear, and it's inspiration. I hear songs I might get from other people like you. You might make a suggestion, and I'll add that to my playlist. So now, like, my playlist is up something like 30, 40 hours. So I can put it on shuffle, and it'll keep playing things. So, it's like today I added to my playlist Better Days by Diane Reeves. I thought that would just make me feel better. Better Days. And then I was thinking about Rahsaan Roland Kirk, Bright Moments, put that on my playlist. So then there's this Brahms violin concerto that when I hear it, it just brightens my day. Like, just the musicianship of that player. I think I can't think of his name. Joshua Bell, I think it is, who's playing. But
you gotta share that one with me.
It's so bright. And then one of my friends, Lanny, sent me a link of a little kid. He's got to be about 8, 9, playing giant steps, and he's playing an exact Coltrane solo on a soprano sax. He's got it down cold. And I told Lanny, I said, well, I'm looking at it. I'm trying to get his number so I can get some lessons from that guy. It's like, man, I'm shut in, but it's a lot of things. I'm shut in, but it's an inner world here that I have to explore, and I thank God for it. And but the playlist, just because that's what music has been, a companion for me all my life. I kind of grew up an only child in Philadelphia, and I knew what I wanted to do. I kind of knew I wanted to be a musician, and songs. I bugged my parents for instruments and to take me to see music. So I've I've always, and I like, I don't really have I'm like Duke Ellington. I think there are two types of music. There's Duke, somebody asked Duke Ellington about music, and he said, well, hey, there's two types of music. He says, there's the good kind and the other kind. He said, I play the good.
You know what? And say more about that, because I know you, a lot of people know you playing jazz, but you have an eclectic music palette. And so you and I have talked about rock, you know, we have talked about all kinds of music. So say more about that, the broadness of your music diet, the different genres that you draw from.
Oh, you know, I think you have to have a broad palette in terms of music. It's almost like in terms of it, it's like food. You know, you want to eat a broad variety of food, vegetables, and then there's some stuff that you don't want to eat or eat sparingly. You want to stay away from. But and music is like the food that you're kind of putting in your mind, your heart, and your soul. So you got to watch it. You got to be careful. You know, but you got to. I think that it makes you a better, well-rounded person, and the musicians that I've been blessed to know and come into contact with, and musicians that have touched me in my life and been a heavy influence on me. They were broad, well-rounded people, gotcha. And that they were tolerant, and they could listen. So I think that there's messages there's messages that for myself that I receive all throughout the day. Sometimes it's in music, sometimes it's in nature, and there's ideas. Sometimes it's in it might be God puts little things for you to look for. And I think if you have a wide palette in terms of music, then you're going to be able to find a lot. You're going to be able to find a lot of gold nuggets along the way, and things that touch you. It's just like literature. You know, I had the hardest time reading this book last year, and I kept taking it from the library. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. And I, as a matter of fact, I held it so long, the library said, you got to bring the book back. And then I brought it back. I guess somebody else wanted, and I had to get another version of the book. But the book was Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment.
Yes.
And it took me a while to go through that book, but when I finished reading it, man, I was like, wow, I thought I was the better person for reading it. And it taught me, it's a Russian book, and it deals about Russian culture. And with it, but it's a general universal theme in terms of it, of the book, the nature of the book. So I think that there's common things that ties together, that ties humanity together, and it's the music. And I think if you look at all the different cultures, around the world, there's something in their music that's there for everybody. And if musicians are giving it, they're giving it, and if they're giving it in love, man, whatever. I mean, if they're just giving it, I mean, because sometimes music expresses raw emotions that we might not. It makes us look at truths that we might not want to look at, but that's art in and of itself. So
yeah, I heard Harry Belafonte say about artists, in particular musicians. He said artists are the gatekeepers of truth, and talking about using the gift to inspire people and motivate people for the greater good. And you spoke to that. Tell me, real quick, because we started out with Branford Lament. Tell me what the passing of Ellis Marsalis means to just music, period. Tell me the impact of his transitioning upstairs, what that means.
Well, I mean, I'm just, sad for the Marsalis family, and the city of New Orleans, because one thing, he means so much to that city. He played at a club. I think every Wednesday night, I think he played at Snug Harbor, a club there. But not just that, for the world, because think of the gift that he gave the world. He's given him and his wife and given the world with their sons, and the discipline that he's instilled within them to be able to do what they've done.
Oh my God,
strength. I mean, and we often, talk about black families and particularly males. absent, it's a cliche, and a common thing of the absent Black father figure. But that type of strong father figure leading his family, it's quite remarkable. And I really feel for that family. But he's an inspiration. I've met him once, a couple. Well, I'm thinking I might have met him a couple of times, but I got a chance to really sit down and talk with him. Him and Jason a couple of years ago in Chicago at the Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic. They were playing, and we sat down and talked, and we were going over some people that we knew, in New Orleans. But New Orleans has, and when Chicago, most major cities have a strong music culture, but New Orleans is a music mecca, and not just music, but food, music, food, and good times, Good times, and it's some really, really wonderful people there, and he was a New Orleans institution, and I really feel for that city, and because that city is really, with what's going on right now, they're really getting it. So you really got to pray for those people, and it's a beautiful, wonderful city. I mean, I got New Orleans stories. I mean, God has just been so good to me, and part of that, is the time that I spent in New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and the friendship that I established there, and I always will remember and think of them fondly, because outside of, let me say this also, I've been practicing music for a long time now, but I really didn't start to get to understanding music, until I really started actually playing in the church, Really? That's when I started to actually kind of get it. And what I try to do is when I play outside, I try to bring the church feel, that feel that I get to where I am, because I suffered from real bad stage fright, and do really? Somewhat I do, but somebody gave me a passage of scripture that helped calm me down. And when I'm playing and I think of that passage of scripture, I say, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna be okay. But for the longest time, I suffered from that. I just wanted to add that. But in terms of Ellis Marsalis, man, what a loss, a national loss, national loss, man. I mean, there's gonna be a great. When all is clears and they're able to really celebrate his life and his legacy, whew. Because he laid down a lot of music, man. I mean, there's a song, "Swinging at the Haven," that I've had the last couple of gigs that I've been doing with guys. I've been trying to do that song, "Swinging at the Haven."
Swinging at the Haven.
Swinging it, beautiful song, and he's done it, and Bradford's done it in a couple different versions, and from a slow version to a fast version. But beautiful gentleman, just a gentleman, beautiful gentleman, man, and he's got a song called 12 Zit. 12 Zit is a nice tune too. But he's a beautiful, and him and Mr. Baptiste would remind me of each other. They were similar because it's music. A lot of music families. And Baptiste is a music family.
Yeah.
But just think about all from Jason, Bradford,
Delphia.
Hey, that's. And for him to keep those guys in a steady, on a steady course, man.
I'm going to get Dr. O'D's. I'm going to do one of these with him because I want to get his perspective on it also. But while we got a few minutes, a couple things I want to do, because Bobby Wooten talked glowingly about you in my interview. So I want you to share, because here it is. I know, and I'm shamelessly plugging our congregation in this.
Oh, you should.
We have been blessed musically from the great Philip Freeman, God rest his soul, to the great John Dunson, and now Bobby Wooten, to yourself, to Dr. O'D's. And so kind of share with what Bobby Wooten means, not only to you, but, to our congregation, but to the music, music family, period.
Well, Bobby Wooten is he's been a blessing to us, a godsend. And there's not really, I can't really say enough about him and what he's been in terms of helping me develop as a musician and helping our choir develop as a choir.
Yeah.
He's got steadfast leadership, and his demeanor is for one thing, he's a humorous guy. He's a sly wit. He's a very sly wit. And it's a pleasure just being around him, and he makes rehearsing fun. So I think that our choir is going to continue to grow. But his pedigree, I mean, the things that he's done, the places that he's been, and the fact that we have him with us, you know, sometimes I just wonder, you know, I just see God's hand in the direction of this. And then Otis Williams is
Exactly.
a world-class musician. He's
Exactly.
one of the finest trumpet players in the world. I dare say.
I agree.
You know, but Gary's been lucky to have guys like Art Hoyle and you know, and Doc Otis Williams, Billy Foster, Bruce Evans, Lanny Turner. You know, there's a lot of good musicians here, man. A good friend of ours just passed away, Carl Cohen. He's from Michigan City. Tenor player. You remember Carl? Big dude, big white guy. Man, beautiful guy, man. Beautiful. I mean, I mourn for him and his family. But the music community in this area, we Barco Villarreal, Buddy Pearson, Garrett, Bill Romer. I've been blessed. Robert Gates, Larry Campbell. We got some bad musicians around here. Mike LeBroy. I'm just saying. Yeah. But Bobby Wooten. For us to have Bobby Wooten at the church, and it's funny because Bobby, I think in his band in Chicago with the Wooten Singers, he's got the bass player in his band was one of my classmates in Berkeley and Boston. Dexter.
Is that right?
Bass player, and I see him. It's like, man, I know God's hand is in this. I mean, in this whole thing. So I think that Trinity, man, I mean, I don't know how you pulled that off, but it's God's doing. But I mean, I don't know how you did it.
Exactly.
The personality, we're blessed to have Bobby, and it's kind of hard to describe. I'm at a loss of words because it still kind of blows my mind that he's with us, and we're just such a small little church, but we're getting bigger. Don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm saying? That he's with us, you know. But it's the things that he does and knows musically that's a wide range too. Yeah, that's a real wide range of experience. Yeah, and he's immensely talented. So I'm just like, hey, I'm here. What you say, peacock crowd?
Yes, sir. You know, let me do this before we begin to wrap up. So in my, I shared with you in my interview with Bobby, I had my hot mic experience, and I was sharing with Bobby that you're quarantined and my angst that when you came to see me and to find out that you had to be quarantined, that you have not been infected, but you're quarantined. Tell everybody how you're doing.
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. My dad's doing great. My wife is doing great. You know, my dad's eating like a horse, so I mean that's a good sign.
Exactly.
So, you know, we're going into this second week of this, but you know, hey, man, I'm good. God, you know, like I tell, I forgot who I was talking to, but you know, this is the test of faith. Now is where we talk about faith. You know,
yes, sir.
We talk about faith. I'm good. I mean, where God is going to put me and place me, I'm good. And I'm just leaning on scripture right now and trying to enact my faith. And my spirits are great. I feel good. And I just finished working out. But you know, man, you know, it's the whole thing. You know, at this time now, you know, I do miss the gigs, but you know, at this point right now, if you got money, what can you do with it? I mean,
right.
Buy a whole bunch of crap online. I get almost everything I need. I mean, I don't get it with people hoarding toilet paper and all that other crazy stuff that people are doing. But now's the time for us to come together as community, to take a pause and to realize, think about what's really important, you know, and You know, I'm doing well. I'm doing
Good.
fine. And I'm just praying for people that are, you know, that are struggling in this, just like the Marcellus family. Hey, this stuff is real. I mean, I've seen some stuff on the internet that, you know, that I don't know, that seemed to suggest that we're into some kind of thing that's created, that's not really real. The government's doing this, and I don't know what's going on, but I know people are getting sick and people are dying. So this is really real. I would advise everyone to practice social distancing with whatever they're asking, and wearing masks, washing your hands. Like my cousin told me that if you wash your hands and you recite the Lord's Prayer, that's pretty much the time that you need to be doing 20 seconds. So I've been doing that. I got the thing where I've been swabbing my nose with salt water and gargling. I do that a few times during the day, and staying healthy, you know, eating a variety of foods. So I'm good, man. I mean, I'm feeling good. I'm just praying we come out of this, man. I'm praying for you, Pastor, and praying for our congregation, our city, our state, our country, our world, and that we come through it.
All right. You know, I really thank you for taking this moment out.
Thank you
and sharing. And you know what this crisis, you know, I shared in one of my my motivation text, voice text this week. The Chinese, in their characters, they write in characters, and the character for crisis on the opposite side is opportunity.
Right.
So whenever we're in a crisis, it means there is also an opportunity. And what has happened in this crisis is we have been able to get some deeper insights from people like yourself. A lot of what you just said, a lot of people in our congregation, and I would deem to say a lot of people that you will run into, and you end up running into a lot of people, don't know about, you know, the background and some of the insights. And this just has been so rewarding. I could do this all day, but we got to bring it to a close. And so I thank you for taking this moment, man, and sharing with us, master musician, saxophonist. Any closing remarks you want to share?
Well, I want to, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity, for thinking enough of me to want to do this interview. I really appreciate it. But one thing that the Lord has been putting on my mind is like, okay, with this isolation here, this quarantining, and I'm wondering day by day if I'm going to be okay and my dad going to be okay. But the Lord is saying, hey, man, this is how you're going to live. You know, you're going to lean on me every day. So it's not like, okay, I'm going to be out of the woods and say, okay, all right, well, Lord, see you later. Thanks a lot for getting me through this thing right here. Next time I'm in trouble, I'll give you a call. Nah, this is an everyday thing, man. It's every day with God. It's every day, every second, every moment, and in his presence, living in his grace. And that's what I'm living. I'm living in his grace, moment to moment, second to second. And it's not going to be like, okay, well, once all this stuff clears up and we're back to normal and we're back to watching football or whatever, you know, we're doing that. We're just going to say, okay, God, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot, God. You know, we'll call you next time we really need you. Nah, you know, we lean in and we need God every day, every moment, every second, every hour. And that's what this is about now. So, I mean, this is what it's really about. So,
well, thank you for giving me some sermon points. Because don't mistake it. You're gonna hear this again. And thank you for giving me some help in preparation for sermon. I want to thank you again. I want to thank you, Mike Carson, for sharing with us from your wealth of experience and your insights and your genuine heart. And so to those of you out there who have been able to see this, I pray that something that has transpired here has touched you. I pray that it has motivated you. I pray that it has allowed you to feel whole. And because God wants us whole, and we're going to get through this and be whole. And so once again, I'm Reverend Dr. John E. Jackson, Sr., the senior pastor of the Trinity United Church of Christ in Gary, Indiana, with my good friend and brother and blessing in my life, Michael Carson. And we thank you and bid you adieu. And so we are going to close this down right now. God bless you and God keep you.
God bless you too. Stay safe.
All right.